Reading from the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Canto 10, Chapter 24. Text 8. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Śrī-nanda uvāca parjanyo bhagavān indro. Meghās tasyātma-mūrtayaḥ. Te bhivarṣanti bhūtānāṁ. prīṇanaṁ jīvanaṁ payaḥ. Nanda Mahārāja replied, the great Lord Indra is the controller of the rain. The clouds are his personal representatives, and they directly provide rainwater, which gives happiness and sustenance to all creatures. Purport: without clean rainwater, the earth could not possibly provide food or drink for anyone, nor could there be cleanliness. Thus, it would be difficult to overestimate the value of the rain. Om Jnana-timirandasya Kananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Sayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Sapadantikam Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vayevacha Patithanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivas Adi Kaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So greetings from Govardhan. It's just wonderful being here. I have a special guest here. Remember Sundar Gopal? There we go. You remember him from Cali and you remember him from New York. So it's kind of fulfilling the vision of this small ashram. And certain people who I have a relationship with that deeply want to contribute to Srila Prabhupada's mission, provide a place. He said it's peaceful, or what do you say? It was rejuvenating. And Shyam Sundar was just here also. So I want to help those who help others. And it's Janava, my disciple, will visit on a few days, 2 days, and it's just different people coming, but I still wake up early and I have my sadhana. So it's really a great program, because I described that. Actually, I was just reading a book by Srila Swami. It's unbelievable. This is a commentary on the Lord Krishna-katha. That's volume 1. It's like 5 volumes. But it's very interesting. So I just wrote him a note by hand because I don't have my computer. That everyone moves forward by faith. And spiritual movements move by faith. So there has to be examples or at least discussions of spiritual attainment to keep that faith. So the fact that he's writing about these things and trying to put it in context of Prabhupada's teachings, I said it's such an important contribution. And here, it's on a small scale. That's my idea. I had so many different groups come, and and people come, and we really had a group of about 30 people here in Govardhan, and it was so faith building. To experience the Dham. I was yesterday. I quoted this verse. We're reading about Govardhan Hill. Pramada Mandana Lila Kandare Kandarete. Then each and every cave, and Sundar Gopal made the point that this is true, but there's a very high realization to see it, and that's a fact. And I went out to Govardhan today. I try to go out at least every day. The little forest here, you just walk down Dandavardhana Kund. You walk a little bit past it, that little path and trees, and I sit there. And I was looking at it, and there's kind of like, I think there's three basic visions. One, if you just look from your intellectual analysis, it's not the most beautiful place in the world. It's not, upstate New York has so much more greenery, Columbia, and its rivers and beauty. So from that perspective, but then I was thinking that beauty is more than that. Beauty is also what something represents to you. And it's just unbelievable. It's just so connected with Krishna. And then it really becomes beautiful. It's not just you're imagining it. I mean, it's still, there's trees and the mountain and then of course there's the apricot, the unmanifest vision, which is described. So it's just great being here by the hill. We're going to go see, tomorrow we have lunch with Bhakti Vigyan Goswami. And the following day with Bhurijan Prabhu in the morning. Depending how you're feeling tomorrow, maybe we take a rickshaw to Radhakund.
That'd be amazing.
Yeah, I think we'll do that. Yeah, we'll take a rickshaw to Radhakund, not simple thing, and go around and chant. So naturally he's here, Nasi Govind is here. There's another lady from New York named Andrea. She's from Colombia originally. She's somehow here. She was coming. She went to Barsana today. So life is Harikatha, chanting and hearing about Krishna, Swarup Siddhi Bhakti, Swarup Siddhi Bhakti. Bhakti that's just composed of bhakti. You don't have to make it bhakti. You can do something and offer it to Krishna, and it can become bhakti. And there can be certain activities that are very conducive to bhakti. You may be celibate in the ashram of your guru. Celibacy itself is not an item of devotional service, but there's certain principles. Even the four regulative principles are not like bhakti. There's people that follow them that are personalists. But then there's these activities that are independently bhakti. And when you practice those, tanama rupa charitati sakirtananu, chanting here about Krishna in these holy places, it's extremely enlivening. And, but at the same sense, what Prabhupada taught us is that we can make where we are a spiritual place. The difference is here it's not dependent on your effort or consciousness. It doesn't mean you'll get any benefit if you're not in the right consciousness, but Vrindavan is not dependent on your consciousness. And Srila Dhanurdhara Swami gave an example once that was really good. He said, he gave two examples. One was, it's like an embassy in a foreign country. When I first came to India, it was so austere. When I went to the American embassy, it was like clean, air conditioning. There was like, a water fountain with cold water and, super clean. It was America. But, the embassy can be overrun by the other country, and then it's not, that place is not America or something like that. So it's like that. You can make a place for Vrindavan by chanting and hearing about Krishna. The other example he gave, I thought was really brilliant too, was the Netherlands. It's naturally irrigated because it's below land. It's a small country, but it's the second biggest importer of food in the world. And their government is trying to destroy it because they're saying that the cows create too much carbon dioxide, I don't know, whatever it is. So they actually want to reduce it by 2,300 farms and starve the rest of the world. This is the way people's thinking is so shallow. They have good moral convictions, but don't understand the unintended consequences of it. The farmers are protesting the 2,300 farms they want to remove because it's for climate change, but they don't understand the balance of things. But anyway, it's naturally irrigated. But if you make an irrigation system up to a mountain, it's the same. But the effort is involved there. But in the Netherlands, there's no effort. The land is below sea level. They got dikes. It's so easily irrigated. Or at least part of it is. So it's like that. You can make Vrindavan wherever you are. But it's going to be dependent on your effort. You're not going to get any help outside. But anyway, I'm talking this way because I am in separation already. I'm so spoiled. I have 2 weeks left here, and then I'm saying, oh my God, what did I do? I could have gone here, I could have gone there. Yeah. So now the story, and just to put everybody in context, in the same place that Krishna just saw delivered the wives of the yogic Brahmins and their superficial understanding of religion was revealed. That it's the ritual and not the intention. Ritual is very powerful when it's connected with intention. If you're doing the ritual for a purpose and you make sure that the ritual aligns with the purpose, then that's very good. But a lot of times it just becomes the form without the substance. And that's what's happened with these Brahmins, to the extent that yajna by Vishnu, yajna is for the pleasure of God. And God came and said, his servants came, give me some food, and they ignored him. And then the contrast between those yogic Brahmins, Satkarma Nipano Vipro Mantra Tantra Visharada Vaishnava Gunasat Vaishnava Swapachoguru Satkarma Nipano, they knew all the different rituals, all the mudras and the whole thing. They knew everything. but they weren't humble. Vaishnav means humble. That's the meaning of Vaishnav. Vaishnav means that I accept that there's an absolute reality, authority that's higher than me, and I'm fine with it. That's a Vaishnav. Vaishnav accepts that authority. And if you do, that's elevated state of consciousness. And you're surrendered to the truth as it comes to you, represented by the people, as represented by the people who know that truth. So it doesn't matter what caste, if you have bhakti, if you have humility, then that's the main qualification for being a teacher. And if you don't, you're not qualified, even if you know all the rituals. And that was the contrast. The wives, they can't do the puja in those days. They have kids, they're not clean. Times of the month, they're just kids slobbering over them, all the things they do. They can't do the rituals. And sometimes not educated. But somehow or other, so without bhakti, without humility, without that intention to accept that I'm a part of something much greater than myself that I'm meant to serve, then everything becomes useless. So that very place where he saw that, then he sees his father setting up a puja. So he wants to know from his father, do you know what you're doing? Is there a purpose to this? Or is this just some custom that you're following? Or is it Shastra? But even if it's Shastra, you know why you're actually doing this. And there's a great discussion to be had on the relationship between doing a spiritual activity and knowing the intention of it. And because there was more discussion yesterday, Sundar Gopal gave a nice example. In Sanskrit grammar, there's Krishnasya means of Krishna, and there's different endings that indicate different things. But the grammatical term Krishna is the vocative. It means, oh Krishna. So if you want to perfect the mantra, the Hare Krishna mantra, it's not just, it's pronouncing it properly. It means pronouncing it with the intention and meaning, because it's vocative. So how much the meaning and the understanding, especially in the whole bhakti cult, but in any ritual, because you get lost in the subtleties of it if you really don't know the objective to it. So there's a nice discussion about that. And then Nanda Mahārāja now is going to respond. And Sundar Gopal also made a nice point yesterday too, that there's different occupations and there's 4 Vaishyas. Vaishya comes from means wealth of land. Doesn't it come from a declension V? Vaishya.
I would need to check. I don't remember offhand.
I read this.
Okay.
That it somehow means wealth of land. It was something with but there's banking, there's trade, there's agriculture, and there's cow protection. And if you look at cow protection, cows require a lot of water to drink, and also the busha, the grains, require a lot of water. So, and then he made the point that Nanda Mahārāja is a mixed caste. So he has, there's some line Brahminical in him.
From his mother, from Parjanya's, from Devamita's wife.
So there was some kind of responsibility he had. He was a leader. It was all dependent on rain. So it's a fact that if you worship particular demigods, you get the fruit. So basically he's telling him, I'm kind of responsible. I'm responsible for this, and this is the system. And there can be so many religious principles of, when you are responsible for someone, it's not outside of Krishna consciousness. Take someone to the doctor. Of course, you can be a Christian Scientist and just say it's a type of Christianity where they don't believe in doctors, only faith healing. So that it could be a case of it where he's saying, I'll do this, and Krishna's saying, we'll just have faith. You can say something about this. Yeah, it's okay.
Well, could I say a little bit about the descent of Shri Krishna?
Yeah, please.
So there are different types of, as Maharaj was explaining, there are different kinds of vaishyas, and in particular, 4 different, how would you put it, vocations. So one of them is trade, another is agriculture, and another is tending animals, particularly cows, protecting cows. So Shri Krishna comes, this is explained in Gopal Champa in chapter 3. Shri Krishna comes in a line that's famous as the Abhira line. And they are part Brahmin. So they're part Kshatriya, coming down from Devamita, who was a Kshatriya. His wife was part Brahmin. And then their son, Parjanya, is Krishna's grandfather. So that's why, although Krishna and his lineage, the Abhiras, are Vaishyas, they wear the sacred thread. It's also why they can engage in yajna. Indra being very much a Vedic deity. The various yajnas that are described in the Vedas, so much of that is it relates to offerings to Indra. So Srila Jiva Goswami glorifies the Abhira lineage. And what's special about Krishna's lineage, among many other things, is that they will only look after cows. They won't engage in any other of the typical vocations of Vaishyas. So what that means then is that protecting the cows and making sure that there are rich pasturing grounds available is entirely dependent on the rain. So in these verses, early verses in chapter 24 of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, you really have this sense of the weight of responsibility on Nanda Baba to make sure that all of the entire community that he's looking after are properly looked after. So in the verse that Maharaj recited, currently I'm especially looking at the writings of Srila Sanatana Goswami. So I took the opportunity to quickly look at the Brihad Vaishnava Toshani, and Srila Sanatana Goswami's, some of what he says in relation to this verse and some of the others. And that really comes across. So for example, the verse ends in jīvanaṁ, payaḥ. So jīvanaṁ means life-giving. The rains are life-giving, and payaḥ. There's a play on words here, because payaḥ means strength, vitality. It also means rain. It also means grass, and it also means milk. So they're beautiful, beautiful verses in this chapter of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam.
That's great. Okay, that was real. That's great. That's special. Now, just because this is a little bit of a discussion, as you can see, I think one thing that's interesting, though, I never knew actually, is like a slight tinge of Brahmin, so, and then a slight tinge of Kshatriya. But Mother Yasoda's family is Vaishyas. Is that how it works? So, and maybe it's like the Jewish religion, where you take after your mother or something, you know. In the Jewish religion, if your mother's not Jewish and your father's Jewish, you're not Jewish. So, you know, maybe there was some. So anyway, there's definitely a strong Vaishya thing because they're doing that occupation. But it's interesting, and I've never heard this before, that they're able, Nanda Mahārāja is able to do the rituals too. And also he had a deity worship of Narayan. So it makes sense also that he was responsible for, you know, worship, you know, doing the things that people do in those communities. I mean, the communities were set up, and even in the Bhagavad Gita, there's that verse, Sahayagya prajo vacha, Sahayagya pro vacha, I forgot it's Sahayagya pro vacha. Anyway, it says, I've sent forth, you know, man and demigod, do sacrifice, because by that sacrifice, this is the 3rd chapter, by that sacrifice, you'll get spiritual nourishment. You'll get kamavot, you'll get all your desires fulfilled materially and spiritually. It was connected to the spiritual aspect. But I guess the point that Krishna is going to make, the ultimate point he's going to make is, and this is a discussion of, I think in Bhakti Lok or something, Bhaktivinoda Thakur makes, that unfavorable to your advancement, niyama agraha, when you have too much affection for rules, means you keep a particular rule where it no longer is applicable to you at your level of adhikari. And our friend, you remember Manu that came to the Kali retreats?
Yes.
A nice gentleman.
Yes.
His mother is a scholar, and she gave a great example. She said, an example in Niyama-agraha is if you're flying a plane and you're stopping at the traffic lights, you know, you're at a different level. So Krishna's come to give a different level. Krishna's come to give the ultimate Vedaischa sarveham eva vedyo vedanta vedahid eva. Of all the Vedas, I am to be known. And the whole Bhagavatam is also based on that point. That there's, you know, Vyasadeva is trying to give religion to accommodate the people, and he remains dissatisfied. And then, you know, his guru confirms what he's thinking. You haven't sufficiently glorified Krishna. So, so he got chastised, even though he's promoting religion, because it wasn't appropriate. It's just like when we preach, you can go into like a yoga studio and start preaching heavily about the four regulative principles, and, you know, but it's maybe not what the audience needs to hear at that particular time, or maybe they do. So I think there's this idea, and that's also in the Bhagavatam, dharma svanushnita pumsa viviks ena katasya no pariyayati ratim shrame. It becomes useless even if dharma is svanushnita, if dharma is done expertly and it doesn't give the goal. And I think it's because it's actually what Krishna is giving now. So, and I think the Gita talks about that, the rituals, the flowery things of the Vedas. And you're a scholar of religion, so you know the whole history of what was given, and then you know what the Gita comes, and the Gita is saying, Sarva Dhamma Prityaja Mame Kam Sharanam Vraja Tvam Sarva Pape Bhyo Mokshayasyami Masaja. You know, give it all up and just come to the conclusion. And that's also in the Bhagavatam. You know, the question of the Bhagavatam is, what is the ultimate? Buri, Burini, Karmani. There's so many things to do. Give me the ultimate and absolute good. So there's this interesting thing that because people are not qualified, they have to get the simplest thing is the absolute thing. But it's a matter of consciousness and not your material ability. So if you're humble, you can actually do the highest thing. Because surrender, Prabhupada said, the process is simple, the application is difficult. So we can do, where generally people can't take to the simple process. We have no choice, because we can only do the simple process. But the application is difficult. And Jiva Goswami said in the introduction of Bhakti Sandharma, written by Navadvip in the translation, he says, devotion in the form of kirtan, devotion in the form of kirtan is something about devotion in the form of kirtan can be given in Kali Yuga. Oh, devotion in the form of kirtan is can be practiced by those devoid of false prestige, and therefore
is unlimitedly merciful.
Take to it, because Kali Yuga is meant to destroy false prestige. So it seems that even though Nanda Mahārāja is giving something that's so true, and it's even his duty, and he's like from the line, and he has so much responsibility, Krishna is just saying, you know, indirectly, you know, I've come for something else, and we're going to demonstrate this. Yeah, just, you must have some comment on this for sure.
No, not at the moment.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Okay, you do. Just let me know, because I just ramble on and on. It's going to run out today, and I don't have the backup, so we'll see. Okay. Now the next verse says, Tam tata vayam anye cha vamacham patim ishvaram Dravyais retasa stidhaya yajanti kratubir nara. Not only we, my dear son, but also many other men worship him, the Lord and Master of the rain-giving clouds. We offer him grain and other paraphernalia of worship produced to his own discharge in the form of rain. Purport, Nanda Mahārāja patiently tried to explain the facts of life to his young son, Sri Krishna. But in fact, Nanda and all the residents would learn an astonishing lesson, as it explained in this chapter. So it's like you offer the Ganga, the water from the Ganga. So everything is coming from Indra. And definitely in a prosperous society, they do the various worships, and they're scientific, because God organized the world to take selfish people and make them sacrifice by offering them material goals for their sacrifice. Otherwise, there's no question of socializing society, and society becomes hell. So Krishna made this plan. There will be reciprocation if you sacrifice, which is somewhat closer to the soul, even if you have a material motive. But again, Krishna has another idea. Dharma, kaitava, projita, namatsarana. He's going to kick out all this type of religion that's mixed with getting something, even though it's very functional for a whole society. Now you must have something.
I really like what you said, Maharaj, about offering the Ganga back to the Ganga. So sometimes we go to the Ganges or the Yamuna River, and as an offering, we scoop up some water and offer that water back to the river. So in this particular verse, Nanda Baba is making many arguments, like 5 or 6 arguments for ways of convincing Krishna that are packed into the verse. The first, Srila Sanatana Goswami explains, is by the use of the address Tata, which is like a term of endearment. And Sri Sanatana Goswami says here that Nanda Baba is saying that to Krishna to call his attention to his various arguments and to give Krishna faith in what he's going to say, what he's going to explain. And this idea of Indra providing so much, and you take the grain and offer it, or the ghee for that matter, which is a result of butter, milk, cows, the grain or grasses that the cows eat. So it ultimately all flows from Indra. So by taking that and offering it back, it's a form of gratitude. A little bit like Srila Prabhupada would give the example when a parent gives a child some sweet. The first thing a child often does is they'll take some of it and give it to the father or mother. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam here also uses the term Ishvara to describe Indra. In other words, here the meaning is that Indra is not just any devata, but he's the Lord of all the devatas. And Yajante is in the third person. So why would Nanda Baba use the third person here to say they worship as opposed to this is how we worship? Nanda Baba is using the third person here to emphasize that this is not just his own way of his own custom, but it's widely followed by many. So it's quite it's really interesting how Nanda Baba is including so many different arguments. These are just a few that I can remember, but there are others as well within a single verse.
For a 5-year-old, a 6-year-old boy who's preaching philosophy, it's very, how are we doing here? Okay, we'll go on to the next verse. Tacheshano pajivanti trivarga phalahetave pumsam purushakaranam parjanyo phala bhavana. I just thought it's interesting. Isn't Krishna's great grandfather? No,
Parjanyo.
So he's named after Indra even.
That's right.
So it's coming in the family too. By accepting the remnants of sacrifices performed to Indra, people sustain their lives and accomplish the threefold aims of religiosity, economic development, and sense gratification. Thus, Lord Indra is the agent responsible for the fruit of success of industrious people. So, dharma, artha, karma, moksha, the whole system you require for dharma, sustenance and thing, the whole system. Indra's a big player. He's a big player. And we're so divorced. Prabhupada gave the quote that the city is made by man, the country is made by God, a British poet, Cooper. And I think the potency of that is, and it's a fact, that they're seeing, it's actually elevated. They're seeing that we're dependent on the rains. We become so divorced from material life, and it's going to come crashing down on us. I gave the example, like you could live as a very wealthy man for one day. So everything is borrowed. And we have this illusion that it's all organic and that the water's coming and the food's coming and but it's really mercy. And you need to feel it. And feeling mercy is actually a feeling of love. But when you feel mercy, what's the feeling of love? I don't deserve it. If you feel I deserve it, there's no love. So the very foundation of love is this humility and this gratitude. And it begins with nature. I'm kind of starting to support Indra. He's got a whole environmental program here. His son's become a fanatic Hare Krishna. It says, just join the temple and forget about the sacrifices. Krishna's mercy, everything will be taken care of. You have anything? So,
I could add a couple of things if you want.
Yeah, please, because this will be the
I love the point that you made that Parjanyo, Krishna's grandfather is has the same name as Indra. So Parjanyo is also a word that's used 2 verses earlier, and it means rain. And here it's referring directly to Indra. And somewhere in between, in one of the verses in between, it speaks of the clouds as, how is it put? Let me see. Tasyātma-mūrtayaḥ. So the murti, so the embodiment of the self of Indra are the clouds. It's really beautiful poetry of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. And so words in Sanskrit are really quite interesting, and they're unlike words in other languages like English, for example. In English, you'll have a word for something that means just that one thing often. Like it doesn't have any significance in its own right. So if you take, for example, the word lion, lion itself doesn't mean anything. It's simply referring to one particular type of animal, but there's no other meaning in that. Sanskrit doesn't have words like that. Every single word is descriptive. So there are many different words for lion. One of them is Mahavir, which means Vira means courage, and Maha, so that animal that has immense courage. Another word for lion is Simha, which means very powerful. Another word for lion is Kesari. Kesari is because of the color of a lion, which is like saffron. So Kesara, which is a related word, means saffron, the spice. So that makes Sanskrit quite difficult, because you might not know what a particular word is referring to. But it also opens up, it's a language that is just perfect for poetry. And so parjanyo means rain. It also means rain cloud. It also means the god of rain, meaning Indra. Sri Sanatana Goswami explains that Trivarga, as Marge, exactly as Marge explained, of course, are the first three goals or aims of that we often find, aims of human life that people will pursue. So dharma, artha or wealth, and kama or enjoyment. Sanatana Goswami explains that the word, so it says, the verse says, Tri Varga Phala, and he reads that to mean bhakti. So, in other words, the fruit, ultimate fruit of the other aims should be to take one to bhakti. So bhakti is included. And then Sri Sanatana Goswami says, but moksha is not in there anywhere. Because the Vaishnavas, the bhaktas are not interested in moksha whatsoever.
Just an interesting thing in this, I was writing on it just recently. There's a verse, Dharmasya Yapavargasya. And there's these in the second second chapter of the first canto. There's a whole description of Dharma, and it concludes in one sense. Dharma is meant for liberation. And I forgot where I heard the commentary. And in my writings, I'm not going to be able to say where. It's just in my memory someplace, being in Vrindavan, who knows where I heard it or where I read it. And I don't operate that way. I don't have a big library. But the interesting thing, how does Dharma lead to liberation? Because one of the main factors of Dharma is how you deal with your house. And that your house, you try not to get into a envious consciousness. So it's the way you treat guests. The guest is a titi bhagavān. The guest is God. And therefore, if you're dharmic, you'll certainly welcome sadhus to your house. And one may be a Vaishnava. And that's how Dharma leads to liberation. The other thing, it was very interesting when you said the lion is Mahavir. Now I'm understanding the brilliance of Alice in Wonderland, because it was the cowardly lion.
Right.
So it actually, these Lewis Carroll, these writers, they're actually more educated than the people today. So they actually, kind of knew that, I mean, it's just interesting, the cowardly lion.
Subverting it.
Yeah, I have this incredible desire to watch Alice in Wonderland now, right? My brother bought one of the yellow bricks from the Yellow Brick Road or something. I forgot. That's what my older brother, the Yellow Brick Road called me. Okay, so anybody like to say hello to us all here? So Rasi Govind is here too. Hello? Anybody
Hare
say
Krishna
hello?
Maharaj. Hi Raj. Hi everyone. So good to see Govardhan again. I was really appreciating this discussion, particularly about all the Sanskrit nuances, and that the word also means rain cloud, which of course is the color of Krishna's skin. So, and I've always been appreciating this whole line about because I've been thinking a lot about Sanskrit, which I'm bad at, and ritual. But what you said the other day, and what this pastime really points out, is that the ritual itself in all perfection is not the goal. It's the feeling behind the ritual. So thank you so much for this discussion.
Okay, who else? Anybody else like to say hello?
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hey.
Thank you so much for a great class.
Oh, you must have really relished this, the word craft.
Yeah, very, very much. And of course, Wizard of Oz, not Alice in Wonderland.
Oh, yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah.
It's the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah,
right. Alice in Wonderland's a completely different thing. No, how could I? But the Cowardly Lion, you got to understand the depth of who wrote Wizard of Oz.
L. Frank Baum.
I got all these professors here. Have you ever met Sundar Gopal?
No, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
He's studying now for his PhD in Oxford on the ontology of the soul by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And it's so fascinating discussing his research and what real scholarship is and religious history. And when you try to figure out something, knowing the traditions and people just tend to just grab onto one thing and run with it without knowing the whole history of its development and what the tradition says and what those people are doing. And in the modern internet, you get all these crazy conversations with people not really being qualified to enter into them.
That's academia, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hi, Bo. Thank you. Great to see you.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else like to say hello?
Hare Krishna Gumaraj, Tota Gopinath here. So great to hear from you.
Great. Tota, did I ever send you when I'm arriving?
You haven't, no.
Okay, well, I'll send it to you and hopefully you can pick me up. It's at 6 in the morning on a Thursday.
Okay. That works. We'll make it happen.
Okay. Anybody else?
Thank you very much, Maharaj. This is Krishnamrita. Thank you greatly.
Okay, Hare Krishna, thank you. Okay, anybody else?
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Hi, Bo. From your coat, it looks like it's freezing cold outside. Okay. Anybody else?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Surya Radhika here. Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hi, Bo. Great to see both of you from Iran.
Thank you very much, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Hi, Bo.
Thank you for the class.
Anybody else?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, it's Lal Govinda.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you so much.
Thank you for class.
Okay. Haribol.
Haribol.
Anybody else? Great.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Gail here.
You'll get your questions in college.
and Sundar Gopal Prabhu, I still also have a precious little stone that you gave me when you visited New York. I'll bring that to college to show you.
I really look forward to seeing you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Me too. Hare Krishna.
I'll make a joke, Gail.
Uh-oh.
Let's see if he says that at the end of your stay.
He will, Maharaj. He's not like you.
Wait a minute. Gail is traveling.
Hey, Jaya, don't even mention it. She's doing it.
Okay.
It's all Sundar Gopal's fault.
Okay. Anybody else? Gail asks a million questions. And deep. No, we like your questions, Gail. You know that. This is just joking. Okay. Anybody else?
Hare Krishna Maharaj Shri-Rupa. So nice to see this collaboration again.
Yeah, right. We'll see you soon. It's only like, I don't know what. It's 3 weeks or 2 weeks?
4 weeks.
What?
Or March 15th.
Oh, that's that. But America, yeah. Okay, anybody else? Okay. I'm going to look at the list of all the nice people that are attending. I see everybody. Okay, thank you all. I got all your names.
Hare Krishna.
Haribo, Amala. Okay.
Hare Krishna, Gurudeva.
Okay, Haribo.